Years ago, I rented a duplex from a genuinely nice owner. He was honest and reasonable, and I put down a healthy security deposit when I moved in. Unfortunately, he wasn't my day-to-day contact. That role belonged to the delightful and charming Giselle, the on-site landlord. I later learned she was a tenant who had struck a deal with the owner. In exchange for having a rent, she collected rental checks, arranged repairs, and handled all the daily operations for the 5 duplexes he owned in the neighborhood. From day one, Giselle hated me. To make matters worse, she lived in the other half of the duplex. You know the nightmare landlord stories you read about? Giselle ticked all those boxes. She was a Karen obsessed with the rules. She yelled at my friends for parking an inch over the line. My phone or doorbell rang if my place wasn't silent a minute after quiet time. And somehow, the rental checks I dropped in the mail slot always got lost. Repairs took forever if they happened at all. It was more annoying than awful, and I kept telling myself I could endure it since I planned to move closer to my job after my lease ended. Eventually, I discovered why she despised me. She had wanted a friend to move into the duplex I rented. The owner had said no, because her credit check was terrible, and mine was spotless. So she decided to make my life miserable out of spite. As my lease came to an end, I noticed my water heater was leaking. I dried the floor and put down towels, then emailed Giselle. I was smart enough to start a digital trail by then. When I got no response, I followed up a week later with a friendly reminder about the potential problem. Still, no reply. Another email, this time mentioning that a plumber friend recommended immediate action. Finally, she responded with, "I will look into it," and nothing more. She was clearly trying to run the clock out on me. About a month had passed, and I was just weeks away from moving out. I saw Giselle watering her flowers and approached her to mention the leak. She brushed me off but ended the conversation with a threat. "I hope you're keeping it clean around there. I'm a stickler for the final inspection. If you want any of your deposit back, you better be ready to pass a white glove inspection." Okay, that's how we're going to play it. Fine. I started plotting my petty revenge. A week later, just before my last rent check was due, I spotted the owner in the neighborhood. Giselle was nowhere in sight. That's when it hit me. I approached him to say thanks for renting to me. He was friendly and expressed regret that I was leaving. I took the opportunity to ask if he had a few minutes to do the security deposit inspection. He agreed, and we walked into my place together. As we toured, he was all positive, nodding at how great everything looked. Then we reached the water heater. I paused dramatically and said, "I hope we can come to some kind of understanding about the floor around the water heater." I opened the closet doors and showed him the mess. I explained what I'd been doing to manage the leak and pulled up the soaking towels I had placed there the night before. I mentioned my experience with mold and how nasty it could be. He fell silent and asked, "Have you told Giselle about this?" I replied that I had and presented him with copies of my emails to her. As he read through them, I could see him getting angry. "Are there other things that haven't been fixed?" he asked. I showed him a few more emails I had collected. He turned beet red and said, "Okay, I think with what I've seen, I'm fine with releasing your full security deposit." In that moment, inspiration struck. I had one more rent check due for $750, and instead of writing him a check for that amount and him writing me one for $500, and how about I just write him a check for $250, and then call it even? He shrugged and agreed. He signed the paperwork and left. A few days later, I dropped my $250 and check in the mail slot. Later that evening, Giselle pounded on my door, furious about how I hadn't written a full check. She threatened to evict me if I didn't pay the full amount right then. I explained, conveniently omitting that the owner had done the inspection, that $750 and minus my security deposit of $500 and equal $250, and her eyes widened as she tried to process what I was saying. She nearly exploded, yelling that, "That's not how things are done, and you have to obey the rules like everyone else." She insisted she had final say because she did the inspections. Friends, she was so enraged that spittle was flying from her mouth. I calmly told her that the owner had conducted the inspection, signed off on the payment arrangement, and that she should talk to him. Then I slowly closed the door on her. Her brain froze, and she went into lockdown mode, trying to comprehend what had just happened. That image will stay with me forever. Before I moved out, the owner came by to ask if he could fix the water heater for the next tenant. I agreed. As he worked, we chatted, and he mentioned that his daughter was moving into my place and would take over the on-site landlord duties. I asked about Giselle, and he simply said she was moving out because she couldn't afford to pay the full rent anymore.